Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to our Back to School Students Sensitization Session. This is the second staging within our series, and we promise that today will be equally engaging and informative. Our sensitization sessions are hosted by the Youth and Adolescent Policy Division within the Ministry of Youth, Education and Information. And this division is in charge of the implementation, development of course, as well as the management of policies and programs that ensure that our students, youth and children across the length and breadth of Jamaica can achieve their fullest potential. But before we begin today, we must invite a word of prayer. And so I invite Mr. Najee Nunez from the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students to bring us into prayer. Najee?
Thank you, Christina. Let us pray. Dear most holy and righteous Father, we enter into your presence once more. We want to thank you for the gift of life. We want to thank you, Lord, for the opportunity of being here. Lord, we know all the problems and difficulties that COVID-19 has engendered. And today we are here at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information to impart knowledge to the students at the primary, secondary and tertiary level to help this academic year be their best yet. I pray for the presenters. I pray for those who have been working behind the scenes to make this event possible. And I pray for you, the viewers, that as you watch and as you listen and as you get the information that you are here today to receive, that the Lord in all his wisdom, his glory and his countenance will shine upon you, and that today will be a very successful day. These are the mercies I ask. In the most holy and righteous name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Eloquent prior there by Mr. Najee Nunez from Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. Thank you so much, Najee. So we spoke earlier about the sessions that we're having, that this is the second stage within our series. And you might be asking, why is it so important for us to have a series around sensitization for students? The answer is because of COVID-19 and the changes in the educational sector. We're looking at blended learning, even full online learning. We have to revise the way in which we engage students both in and outside of the classroom. Hence, we have to engage primary, secondary, and also tertiary students, providing them with relevant information through the use of platforms such as these provided by the Ministry of Youth, Education, and Information. So, at this time, we'll be having Mrs. Hyacinth Blair, Senior Director in Children's Affairs and Youth and Adolescents Policy Divisions, and she will be bringing to us welcome and opening remarks. Mrs. Hyacinth Blair.
Thank you. Ms. Christina Williams, Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Cassan Troop, Chief Education Officer, our partners from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, our students, teachers, parents, all our viewers, both here and abroad, good afternoon. On behalf of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, I am very happy to welcome you all here this afternoon. We are pleased to have you participate in our second virtual back-to-school student sensitization session. Our last session looked at critical areas of support needed by both students and parents. Hence, students were sensitized on coping mechanisms or ways to manage during this COVID period. We also looked at the issue of safety and security, ways to ensure your physical safety while at home or on the street. Our parents received salient tips on how to support the children during this time, and our CEO, Dr. Troop, gave some very useful information on what to expect in this new school year. Students, the road since March has been very long. And as you continue to journey on this road, I want you to believe and to know that you will emerge better, stronger, wiser. You might say, how do I know this? You have had to deal with challenges never experienced before, and we have found ways to deal with these. Your very presence here today is a testament to this fact. Therefore, as you embark on this new school year, I want you to know that you have what it takes to succeed. I also want you to know that the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is here to assist you to achieve that success. Once again, thank you all for joining us from wherever you are in Jamaica, the diaspora, and indeed the entire world. We anticipate your full participation via our social media platforms and are confident that this will be a worthwhile experience for you as we work together for the success of you, our students, and to advance Jamaica, the land that we all love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mistress Hyacinth Blair, Senior Director in the Children's Affairs and Youth and Adolescent Policy Divisions. And I love the words that she utilized. We will emerge wiser and stronger and ready to take on not just COVID-19, but just the world onwards from this. Thank you so much, Mistress Blair. So we'll now be joined by Dr. Cassandra Trope, Acting Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, and she will be presenting for 15 minutes on the curriculum implementation schedules. Dr. Cassandra?
Okay. Thank you so much, Christina. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Jamaica. Most importantly, good afternoon to our boys and our girls. I know you're anxiously waiting to hear from us. When we met the last time, we got several questions coming in and other concerns that you have. And we have been responding to you in virtual spaces. We have been responding to you through your schools. So it's my joy to be here this afternoon again to continue the dialogue with you. So the last time we met, I spoke to you about the curriculum plans that we have in place, and several things would have happened since then. So as a ministry, of course, you know that we have to have our A plan and our B plan, just in case things change. And as you would have seen, things are changing. And so, as you're all aware, we're in a health crisis. And so the health matters supersede at this point in time, because our mandate is to keep everyone safe in our country. So our A plan that I spoke to you about at the last time would suggest that going forward for educational episodes and for the resumption of schools, the Ministry of Education is focused on a blended, mixed modality learning approach. And what does that mean, boys and girls? It means that we're going to utilize several strategies to engage you in the learning activities. So yes, in the blended approach, you will have limited face-to-face or in-person engagements. In our A plan, you would have seen from what we would have communicated in our bulletin that we anticipated that several of our schools would be able to resume and function normally. And in my last communication with you, I spoke to you about over 500 schools being able to operate normally. So in our A plan, we would have seen a lot of persons or many of our students interacting face-to-face as part of the blended approach. Also, in the blended approach, I spoke to you about the televised opportunities that we are creating. So the Ministry of Education has procured its own e-home school network. And right now that network is predominantly focused on our primary level of the education system. And we have plans to roll out to the secondary level as well. And our curriculum officers and our content providers, they are working together to put learning episodes together that are aligned to the national standards curriculum. So that's part of the blended approach. And of course, as you know, many persons, the time demands the online computer-aided interactions. So our blended approach will also include computer-aided learning. And so we have started a series of conversations with our telecom providers to make sure that this can be supported. And that's part of the blended approach going forward. And a part of the blended approach also involves the learning kits, the printed learning kits. So we are conscious that a number of our schools in the deep remote areas may not be able to log on to the internet because of the infrastructural challenges with those devices. And so the Ministry of Education has put systems in place to make sure that there's access to printing. In fact, I can report to you that our regional offices are being equipped with printing facilities to make sure that our principals, as they prepare the learning episodes on the ground, as they plan in their common planning sessions, as they write the lesson plans and develop the contents, they can reach out to the Ministry of Education, and we will print those for them, and we will help to package them. So those students who are in the very remote areas, we will not leave you behind. So the blended approach also includes printed materials and access to the printed materials. So our principals have already been reminded of this resource, and they have been asked to submit the things in electronic form to their regional offices, and we have put the systems in place now for the printing to start and for the packaging to start as we plan for the grand opening or the formal opening of school October 5th, 2020. So that's what the blended approach looks like. Now, the modalities that we spoke about the last time will include in-person, face-to-face contact. You would have seen from the Ministry of Health's perspective that the in-person engagements have been limited because of the uptick in the spread of the coronavirus. And so what we have said to our principals and all our leaders and proprietors of educational institutions is that they must speak with the Ministry of Health. So whilst we will accommodate in person, as schools begin to plan to roll out officially, I know that some schools will start to do some online interface on the 14th of September. Some have already started to do preliminary activities. We are aware of that, and those are being taking place online in the virtual space. So we are aware of that. But we are also aware that some of our institutions have put systems in place to make sure that the students and the teachers can remain safe. And in so doing, they have invited the Ministry of Health, which is the protocol. The Ministry of Health will do their own assessment and determine in writing that they can operate an in-person engagement in a safe way. So parents have to stay in touch with those proprietors and principals and leaders of those schools, and to make sure that the approval is given. Once those approvals are given by the Ministry of Health, the school therefore communicates that to us, share a copy of the approval, and of course we give them our endorsement to continue with the limited in-person or face-to-face engagements. While that is happening, the Ministry of Health is committed to visiting those schools, whether known or unknown, what we call announced or unannounced visit. The Ministry of Health has committed to doing that because we know that our parents are concerned about safety and the well-being of their children. So whilst the Ministry of Health is flexible, once we can observe the physical distancing and all the safety protocols, what we call the infection prevention control measures, the Ministry of Health will grant the approval, and those schools will operate with some in-person, face-to-face, and that is limited. It doesn't involve everybody coming in at the same time. The cohort must be a manageable cohort at any one time in the physical space. So we have been working with our schools with that, and we have been working with the Ministry of Health, and they have been supporting those schools that are ready to have those things rolled out. And as I can say, I know some of our schools have already started to have in-person. In the curriculum schedule as well, we would have communicated previously about the rotational model. So if it is that we can resume the in-person for the most part in October, then you will see some of our schools operating a rotational model, which means that there will be days that our students and teachers will be physically in the physical school, while others are working remotely from home or from a location that will allow them to log on to the internet or any other devices that will facilitate the virtual or computer-aided learning. And then you will have a flip. So they will be out like for 2 days this week, and they will come back into the physical space for 3 days the following week. That's the A plan, as I have said earlier. But of course, the B plan could see us not being able to do that. We are relying on the information and the guidance from the Ministry of Health. Another model that we have approved is the online, which is the full version of online, and that of course will address the older students. So we would have given our permission for our high schools to migrate the learning programs for our sixth form students, our grades 12 and 13 students, to the virtual space. And of course, a number of our tertiary institutions have already started to do that. And the Ministry of Education has supported those institutions, our public-private tertiary institutions, to move their programs into the virtual space. Some of our tertiary institutions as well will be doing the blended approach or the mixed method approach, or also include some in-person engagements because of the need for the labs that you will have to use. That is very, very important. And so they will schedule sessions in a safe way for students and teachers to engage in that physical space to make sure that your learning programs are not compromised. So those are some of the schedules that we have for the curriculum implementation. And you would have already known of the extended day schedule. That's nothing new in our system. A number of our schools are on extended day, which really is managing the use of the facility on a daily basis by limiting the time period that everybody is on the campus. So there's a 2-hour difference between when a set of students come and leave and another set of students join and leave. So for example, some students will be at school from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, while others will come at 10 o'clock to about 3:34. That's the extended day approach. And we have another few schools that we have already given our permission to do what we call a staggered approach. Now, there are some schools and principals and parents who are very concerned about the rotational model. And so they would prefer if their students or their children are engaged daily and we reduce the number of hours daily and the extended time continues at home. So they would come to school from, for example, 7 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and another set will come at 12 to 3 o'clock, right? Or they will come to school at 8:30, and the sessions are reduced. So a session will normally be 45 minutes. To make sure that everybody gets a touch of the teacher each day, the sessions are reduced to 25 to 30 minutes. And then the additional time is spent at home to catch up and to do the extended work. But what that guarantees is that everybody gets a physical touch daily. So there are some schools that have opted to move into that approach by reducing the number of hours in each day, but guaranteeing physical contact each day for each year group. So those are the curriculum models that we have available: the extended day, the staggered approach, the rotational approach, the whole day approach, and the online program that we have for the senior students and for the tertiary institutions. So for the B plan, those opportunities will still be available, but more so, we may have to rely on the computer-aided engagements because we may not be able to physically gather in October. We are awaiting the directive from the Ministry of Health. As soon as the cabinet is able to reconvene, they will deliberate on this matter, and the Ministry of Education will be guided as to what can be facilitated, and we will definitely communicate with our key stakeholders. So we are conscious that we are in a health crisis. We are aware of what is happening in the sector, and so we have to adjust. So right now I can tell you that we have commenced a series of consultations with our telecom providers, with our providers of computers and tablets and so forth. Those are the distributors and our suppliers. We are talking with our educational service content providers, those persons who have content developed against our curriculum, the worksheets, the quizzes, the tests that are aligned to the PEP and to the NSC and to CXE. We have started to have dialogue with them because more now than ever, if we have to rely on the virtual computer-aided approaches, we have to give access to content so the learning engagements can be supported on the ground. So we have started that to make sure our B plan is ready. You can trust the Ministry of Education that we will have the support systems in place. We know of the demand for e-resources. We have put several of those applications and solutions together, and we are waiting to just be told as to what will be happening going forward with the health issues and what needs to be put in place, and so we can communicate formally to you. We are aware of the desire for a national learning management system. I can tell you today that we are far advanced in making that a reality for all our schools. We have started a conversation with our principals already. We have demonstrated what is possible for them, and they're excited. So the ministry is working, we are listening, we are consulting, and we will never take any decision that will compromise your learning or your safety. So it is a collaboration with the Ministry of Health, with our stakeholders, our principals, our leaders of the schools, our content providers. We know from the Ministry of Education that several of you children are already engaged in some virtual experiences. We have ratified those, and many of those activities were ratified so you can get accustomed to the learning engagement online. So you are going to go into your form sessions with your teachers very soon. You're going to be having your form devotions very soon. You're going to be engaging your orientations very soon. And a number of the parents already, you have started to engage in your virtual PTAs, discussing your programs and discussing what you need to put in place to make sure that your children are ready for this new normal. So boys and girls, we're thinking of you, and I know you are scared, and we are too worried about what is happening, but we are pulling together, we are doing the research, we are putting the plans in place, and some of the regions have started already to roll out the psychosocial activities, but come September 14, many of the other activities will start in the virtual space. So the regional directors are working with the principals to get you online again and to get you some printed materials ready to get you into the attitude of learning as you adjust. We cannot give up. We have to pivot the odds in our favor, boys and girls. Jamaica is relying on you to make your mark, and this Ministry of Education is committed to ensure that you can become the best person you can be by putting in the systems in place to ensure that you will receive quality education, that you can continue to contribute to the growth of this country. Thank you very much, boys and girls, and I am right here to answer your questions going forward.
Thank you, Dr. Cassandra. Very comprehensive presentation. I'm wondering if we'll really have any questions after this. She spoke of a number of different approaches that will be utilized going forward. She mentioned extended day approach, staggered approach, rotational approach, as well as the online or blended learning approach. And as she said, the ministry will be working in collaboration with other stakeholders, especially the Ministry of Health, and based on assessments will determine which approach or combination of approaches will be best based on the school and the environment. Thank you so much, Dr. Cassandra. So now we're at our Q&A session for this section of the program, and we're inviting you to please send in your questions that may be posed to both Dr. Trope as well as Mrs. Hyacinth Blair. They're here on standby to answer your questions. But some questions are already coming in, and I will pose one now. The question is being asked about any special measures for basic schools. I think that should go to Dr. Trope.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that question. So all the activities that I have spoken to earlier will affect our infant schools, our primary schools, our secondary schools, and our tertiary institutions. So when I speak of the entire sector. So we continue to work with the Early Childhood Commission as we service the early childhood institutions. We work through them. As you know, they are the regulatory body. And so they support programs for sanitization, for teacher support, for training, for our learning management system, and all those technical support that we will be putting in place, they will also be available to the basic school and the early childhood sector. In fact, we recently had a follow-up consultations with the basic school proprietors and owners last week, and we had in excess of 1,000 persons participating in that consultation. And they communicated to us some of their challenges and what they would require from us. We have made some commitment to them. We have also sent some resources through the Early Childhood Commission that they will be using to minister or to address the needs of the early childhood and our basic schools. We have also recommitted to looking at our transformational program that would see the rationalization of some of our basic schools so they can be better supported. So where we have, for example, 2, 3, 5 basic schools in a similar space and they're all struggling, a number of those proprietors would have reached out to us to say, we want to see how we can amalgamate, and so the ministry can provide the support that we would want to provide to make sure that our students are getting it right from the start. So we have been listening, and we have provided some resources through the ECC, and they continue to negotiate, they continue to collaborate and to advocate for the early childhood sector, and we continue to provide our support. But all the resources that will make available to our public schools will also be made available to our basic schools and our infant schools.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Trope. Second question. What plans are in place for students with special needs?
Okay. So our students with special needs, of course, you know, we have a special needs unit, special education unit, and that is run by one of our assistant chief education officer, and we have a full team of persons who continue to work with our special needs institutions. So we have the same kind of support that we'll provide for our infant, primary, secondary schools. Those special needs schools are also involved in that. So the additional teacher support that they will require, we have committed to that and we have communicated that kind of support to them. As it relates to accommodation needs for shadows or caregivers, as it relates to the softwares that they will require on their tablets, we have also put that in place. We have partnered with a number of foundations locally, and they have provided a number of tablets, UNICEF, Digicel, and other institutions committed to us some tablets for our special needs students, and we have started to distribute those already. We loaded our e-resource application on that, which gives them access to over 112 applications and solutions for learning. Specialized softwares are loaded on those for our special needs students, and we continue to make sure that all of them have the resources that they need. So for example, a number of our students would need a shadow or a caregiver when they are in their physical classrooms. We have also reached out to our parents for those students already, and we have indicated that if it is that they need to recruit somebody from their location to take over that role, we have committed to compensating that person. So if the person that they now have does not feel safe in coming into their homes to operate, because a number of our special needs students may not be able to come back into the physical classroom. So we have to provide them with the services from their homes. So we have made sure that if it is that there needs to be a caregiver in that home to support the learning, we have committed to compensating those caregivers to carry on that support in the homes. We have committed to providing the technology. We are committed to providing the specialized software. In the Ministry of Education, we have a special needs team in all of our regions where we have a clinical psych, a ed psych, a diagnostician, and we have a special needs coordinator. And they support the special education unit and education officers to reach out to all our special needs students and to respond to their needs. The needs will vary. For example, there are some students who will have to get teachers 1 to 3. So for every 3 children, there's 1 teacher. In some cases, for every 8 children, there's 1 teacher. Those situations are different from the normal schools. So we provide that as well. So if they have to come in, we make sure that the attention that they desire and deserve is there for them. So that kind of support is involved, and all the technological support will be made available to those students as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Trope. Another question coming in is, will the ministry be subsidizing digital devices? And if not, where can students access subsidized or reduced cost, digital devices?
Okay. So the Ministry of Education, we have been listening and we have been working with our partners. So you're aware that our thrust is to deliver in the next couple of weeks 40,000 tablets to our primary schools. And we have committed to procuring over 100,000 tablets this year for our students. And coming out of the last interface that we had with our boys and girls, a number of persons would have said, but these are just for PATH students. What happened to us who are not on PATH and we also are needy? So that information was articulated up and it was deliberated on, and the Ministry of Finance responded. And the Ministry of Education was given an additional $50 million to assist with the procurement of tablets and computers for students who are not on PATH and are needy. So we have actually announced that already, and we are providing that resource to our large primary schools who do not have the resources, 1 and 2, the students who may not be on PATH but are needy. We ask that you parents and our students get in touch with your principals and your teachers to communicate your needs and your concerns. We have committed already to the 50 million, and we are distributing disbursing the funds to our large primary schools as we speak. These primary schools will now engage our suppliers So what we did at the Ministry of Education, we went to look at those suppliers that are approved by the government to engage in distribution and supplies of technological devices. We met with them. We discussed about the economies of scale and making sure that the cost is reasonable. We have also prepared a list of all those distributors and suppliers who have met the requirements of the government, and we have shared that information with all our schools, right? And these suppliers also, they are in dialogue with some of our schools to make sure that they are providing the best service at a most reasonable cost. So that is available in terms of students who are needy. We are trying our very best. If you're not on path, but you're needy, get in touch with your primary school principals, get in touch with your high school principals, and we are trying our very best to make sure that we can respond where the funding is available. It is not infinite, but we are listening and we are pulling and we are advocating for you because we understand the need for the device, especially at this time, and especially if we are not able to regroup in October. So we do understand. So we are having the conversations. We are providing what we can now. We have started the distribution, and I'm proud to let you know that, as I promised you the last time, that we are getting the e-resource app into the App Store. So for those parents who are procuring their own devices, we have prepared the Bring Your Own Device policy, and that will be shared with our schools very shortly, and that will guide you parents into what to procure. The specifications as to what to procure is in that policy, and it is shared with our schools. So get in touch to make sure that whatever you're buying can support the applications, can support the learning activities that are being planned at the school level. I don't want you to go out there and randomly procure. We have also gone ahead and shared our specifications with the local distributors and suppliers. So what they are buying for resale, they are buying those that are in line with the standards of the Ministry of Education. So we are reaching out. We may not be able to commit to every single individual now, but we continue to partner with our providers. We will be resolute in making sure that our commitment for the in excess of 100,000 will be distributed this year. As I said already, we already sent the money for 25,000 laptops to be procured at the school level right across this country for grades 10 to 13. Our principals are active in that procurement process, and those tablets and laptops will be given to students who are on path. And our principals were advised that if there are students who are needy based on how much we have sent, and we can accommodate additional devices based on the deals that our providers would have committed, then additional students can benefit from those. But we continue. I reach out now to our private partners and to our foundations to continue to see your best you can help. A number of the past student associations also, they have been reaching out to the schools, they have been reaching out to us for the specifications, and they're also trying to meet the needs as they come. We're pulling together to try and to get it right for you as we get you ready for learning in this new normal.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Trope. A lot of nuggets coming out there. Bring your own device policy as an example. Laptops will be donated for students with special needs, with, of course, the requisite programs will be uploaded. And, well, a number of things. I must really commend the minister at this time on how comprehensive they have been putting together the programs and policies to help students during this time. The final question for this section is about fees. Why should parents pay fees, seeing that we're going online?
Okay, thank you for that question as it relates to fees. And just let me make it clear, parents and boys and girls who are listening, the Ministry of Education does not have a mandatory fee policy. So the Ministry of Education believes that it is our responsibility for education to be fully funded by the government. We provide the resources for education at the school level, and we do that on a per capita basis. We know that a number of our schools would have expanded their programs, and so they kind of what we call enrich their offerings. So because they have done so, they would have to incur some cost in the services that they are providing. So for example, for those who have some specialized clubs like the swimming and the violin and drama and all those dancing and those big orchestras, you are going to need additional resources for that. So what the schools would have done, is to look to see if we provide this kind of enrichment, we have to share the cost with our parents, right? So what they have done is to say, parents, this is what it will take for us to offer you this body of enrichment. And if it is that we are to sustain this initiative, we will have to provide this kind of budgetary support. Now, they will use some of the resources from the government to carry those programs, while they will rely on what the parents can give to support that. We have no objections if persons make contributions, but there are no mandatory fees. Every boy and girl should have access to fully funded education in Jamaica in all our public educational institutions. Now, if you enter into a private arrangement in our independent schools, or what we call our prep schools, now you have engaged into what we call paid services. And so you will have to fulfill that agreement once you have signed on to that. We will not be able to say to you that you can attend a private institution without making your contribution. That's a contractual arrangement that you will enter into. However, if it is that you are not able to sustain that, we have our public schools, and you can seek support through those facilities. But you will have to contribute to those institutions once you enter into the agreement. What I know from those proprietors and principals is that they have been having a series of meetings with their parents, and they're coming up with reasonable agreements with their parents. So it is something that is discussed. It is something that is fully ventilated and agreed on with their parents. So I will say to you, parents, if you are in that situation, it's best to have the discussion with your principal or proprietor of the private institution. But as it relates parents to the government, public educational institutions, we are not encouraging any mandatory fee. We encourage contributions. If it is that you can contribute, we encourage you to do so. You may not be able to give everything that the school has asked for, but you can say, I can give a portion of that. If it is that you are not able to do so, we understand, and education will not be compromised or denied. You should have full access to such provided by the government.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Troop. And we will now pause the Q&A session for now and turn over to our video presentation, I Dare You, by the Jonathan Grant High School.
Hi, I'm Alethea Richardson, a student of St. Andrew High School for Girls. All of a sudden, it's like my education is not formal. To maintain and get better, we'll have to accept the new normal. It's like early university, so choose responsibility. Remember your goals, focus on destiny. Be a good soldier, mirror the responsibility. You have the ability.
An initiative of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information and Rondell Positive Movement International.
Come back. Always enjoy those videos talking about the importance of personal responsibility as we fight COVID-19 together. So that was our video presentation. And as we talk about health and combating COVID-19, we will turn over to Miss Takesi Foga. I hope I got her name correct. Takis. Okay, Miss Takis Foga. She's the Director of Health Promotion and Education within the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and she'll be talking a little bit about staying healthy during COVID-19. Ms. Foga?
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and consider it such a privilege to be able to share with you on staying healthy during COVID-19. So for our presentation, we will look at COVID-19 basics, and then we look at some prevention measures, how we are active, how we should be active, eat healthy, and other ways to stay healthy. So how is COVID-19 spread? It is spread by the droplets produced when an infected person coughs, sneezes, speaks, laughs, shouts, different things. So the droplets come across and they land on the mouth, the nose, the hands of persons, or it is actually inhaled. It is also spread when objects and surfaces are contaminated by these droplets, and we think of these surfaces as the door handles, as light switches, you know, the tables that we regularly use, even when we're in elevators and touching the buttons, so many things that we commonly use. So they're contaminated by the droplets, and then someone touches these objects and surfaces and then touch their eyes, their nose, or their mouth. And without washing their hands, if the virus is there, they can get COVID-19. So what are the symptoms that one gets when infected with the virus? The three common ones are fever, cough, and shortness of breath. Sometimes fatigue is there, sometimes a sore throat, sometimes headache, but the three most common ones are fever, the cough, and shortness of breath. So it's important to know that even though those symptoms are the most common, there are times when persons feel very fine. The virus is in the body, but they feel fine. And what we say is that they have it, but there's no symptoms. And we call those persons asymptomatic persons. Just for our sake, we need to just know what is the incubation period. And when we refer to the incubation period, we are referring to the time it takes from the time a person gets the virus to when he or she shows symptoms. And we know that to take from 1 to 14 days, even though it tends to be more in the 7 days. But it's 1 to 14 days that we look at. And for the treatment, it's important to note that there is no specific medicine to prevent or treat the coronavirus. So what we do is treat the symptoms accordingly. So we, we'll give you something for the fever, for the headache, for the cough if you are having it. So whatever the symptom is, that is what we will treat. So, as you are reminded then of how coronavirus is spread, how then can we stay healthy? And I want to start with some of our prevention measures. The first one I want to speak of is washing hands frequently. And I know that many of you are doing that, and you would hear many things that speak to washing hands frequently. And why is this so important? Because our hands carry a lot of germs that we cannot see. And so it is important that very frequently we wash our hands for at least 20 seconds, and we make sure that we do it appropriately. We scrub the middle of our hands, the back of our hands, we go under our nails, and we just make sure that the whole surface is actually completely covered with the soap before we wash it off. For hand sanitizers, yes, we say you can use hand sanitizer when you do not have easy access to soap and water, because the soap and water ultimately is the best option for you to take. However, we do know that there are some times you might not be that near to the soap and water, so you can use a hand sanitizer. But it's important to note, though, that if your hands are visibly dirty, the hand sanitizer will not be effective at that time. And when we do use the hand sanitizer, we are to make sure we look on the label and see whether it is over 62% alcohol that is used. For the mask, which is a big thing now, wearing of mask, it is so important that we wear masks. And I know, well, I should say, so children 2 and under, we don't recommend masks for, because their lungs are still developing. But we want everybody else to be practicing wearing masks. We know it is uncomfortable. It can be, but we want you to practice wearing it because it's so important in being a barrier. If we remember how COVID-19 is spread, how the droplets go, we know that it is important that we have that covering. So we need to wear it, and the other people around us need to wear it as well. And when we put it on, we need to make sure it covers our nose and our mouth, and that there are no gaps at the sides of our face. And when we are putting on the mask, we must always wash our hands before putting it on, as well as when we are taking it off. And try not to touch the middle of the mask at any time. And if we have to, in order to adjust it, ensure we wash our hands or sanitize our hands before doing so. And I must put in this point. I know that we've seen some of our adults model the fact that we put our mask under our nose, under our chin. Sometimes it's dangling from the ears. That is not effective. So we must not do that. Okay, those are the examples of how not to wear our mask. So we're going to wear our mask in an effective way. What is the other measure? Maintaining physical distance. And I know sometimes you will hear maintaining social distance, but we've tried to ensure that we say physical because we're not trying to cut down on how we socially connect with persons, because that social connection is important. But yes, we must be physical distance. The space is 6 feet that we recommend, and we usually say that's about 2 arms length. So 6 feet, 2 arms length. And what else comes under maintaining this physical distance? That we ought to stay home when we're sick. We ought to avoid sharing things such as utensils, food, masks for sure, because we are understanding some people are sharing masks. Not to do that at all. And I know one of the first things that came up that I know is hard for you young people at any age, even for us as adults, is the avoiding of the hugging and the handshake. We like that close connection. But at this time, we are asking, wave from a distance, send love, but we are trying to avoid as much as possible the hugging and the handshaking. Okay, so having said those 3 measures, I want you to understand it's not that we want you to just wear the mask alone and you feel okay, or just the washing of the hands and it's all right, maintaining the distance. No, we want you to do all 3 together. So stay healthy and stay safe by wearing the mask, plus washing your hands frequently with the soap and water, practicing the physical distancing, and that will give you the protection from COVID-19. But there are 2 other things that we really want you to do as well to maintain just being healthy at this time. So yes, those were the prevention measures, but we need you to be active. Be active while you're at home. We know that many of you are on your television, or you're on the tablet, you're playing a video game, you're on your phone, and to a certain extent, it's okay, but we don't want you doing that for prolonged periods, so for a long extended time. So when you're doing it, take some breaks. Take 5-minute breaks and do walk or jog, run on the spot. Do your jumping jacks, dance. There's so many little activities that you can do, but staying seated for that long period of time is not helpful. We need you to be active. And outside of the breaks, when you're doing that, what we also want you to do is set aside some time. It can be with your parents, with your siblings, and have some time where you just do activity. Whether it's taking a walk, whether it's following a workout session on YouTube, whether it's dancing, you choose one of the activities you like. Play a game outside. Ask mom and dad, for one of the games that they used to play, dandy shandy something, and just be very active in it. Because at the end of the day, Guys, certainly from 3 years old to 17 years old, you should be at least getting 60 minutes of physical activity per day. And we don't mean just slowly walking from one point to another. We are talking about activity, a moderate activity where you do some walking, a little jogging. You're moving and feeling that energy pressing. We need you to do at least 60 minutes. For parents, the children 3 to 5, in addition to the 60 minutes, encourage them to play. That is a part of their recommendation. Structured activity and several hours of free play. 6 to 17, same, at least 60 minutes of moderate and vigorous exercise and activity at least 5 days per week. Combination of muscle and bone strengthening. So like your hopscotch, your skipping, your jumping jacks, those are important to do. And because I know adults are also listening, 30 minutes a day of moderate to intense physical activity. And that is just for health benefits. If you are looking at losing weight, we're talking about also 60 minutes for the day. And if you want to lose and maintain, we're talking 90 minutes, at least 5 days a week. So that is for activity. And now we want to ensure that you're also eating healthy. So 2 key things you can do. 1, what do you reduce? You want you to reduce your intake of sugary foods, drinks, fatty and salty foods. And yes, I know I've just said all the things that you like to have, but it's important that we reduce the intake, and knowing that at home you just, you want the snack every minute you're having the snack. Snacks is not a bad thing. It's what you're going to have as a snack. So we're not saying that you cut it out. Notice I said reduce your intake of it. What we would love to see you having is more fruits and vegetables in your diet. And I know some people making up their face right now saying, what, vegetables? Yes, yes, and there are nice little ways. Call us at Ministry of Health and Wellness. We'll give you some nice ways you can make the vegetables so you will enjoy it. Or tell mommy or daddy to call us. And of course, choosing water instead of sugary drinks, which is part of reducing the sugar intake. But it's really important that we drink a lot of water. And remember, when you're doing that physical activity session that I know you're now going to be doing, drinking water is important before, during, and after a session. And just to mention 3 other ways to stay healthy. We know that persons are concerned, they have their worries, they have their fears. We don't want you to keep it to yourself. We want you to talk to some adult that you trust, your parent, teacher. You know the adults that you can speak to, but we want you to share it and not just keep it to yourself. There are different ways. Some of you have wonderful skills, creative skills, and things you like to do, such as drawing, writing poems, writing stories. Some of us take time out to meditate and to pray. All of those are important in just expressing yourself, even some of those negative emotions that you may be feeling. Take time out to do that now. And then keep connected. As I said earlier, that's why we took off the social and emphasize now more the physical distance, because we do want you to keep socially connected, even though physically distant. So take time out. There are family members that you can't visit and can't see because of what's going on. Make a call, send a WhatsApp, do FaceTime. You all know exactly what to do, but keep connected with persons at this time. And having done all of that, we believe that you can now be one of our heroes in the fight against COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Be one of our I'll just pause. Be one of our superheroes in the fight against COVID-19. She has presented, I think, a gamut of different things that we need to do. Acceptance of personal responsibility as well as collective responsibility in the fight. Eating healthy, keeping active, maintaining physical distancing, because I'm utilizing what she said, not social, but physical distancing. Of course, washing your hands and sanitizing your hands, as well as the wearing of your mask. Ensure I have my mask here as well. So we're not just start the things, you know, we're practice what we're preaching here today. All right, thank you so much, Ms. Fogop, Director of Health Promotion and Education within the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and she presented on staying healthy during COVID-19. Okay, so at this time we'll move to, you know, we just had a theory, but now we have to have some practical aspects to it. And we have today with us from the Jamaica Moves workout, well, it's a Jamaica Moves workout session, right? It's Mr. Downdre Archer, Health Promotion Assistant from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and he will really be giving us about 5 minutes, and I'm saying 5 minutes because I'm supposed to be doing this as well. I don't know how this will go, but 5 minutes of workout just to give you at home an idea of what you should be doing. According to Ms. Fogel, it should be at least 60 minutes per day. I don't know about that, but he will be giving us a taste of what that should look like at home as you keep healthy and active. Mr. Archer, we ready?
Thanks very much. Good day, guys. We've been sitting for a while. It's recommended that we get up and move after every hour of sitting. So let me just move this chair out the way so I can get some space to get moving. So I want you to just walk on the spot with me. Just walk on the spot.
Walk on the spot?
Yes, just walk on the spot. So it's recommended that we do 60 minutes a day. But if you're not able to do the entire 60 minutes, you can break it up into pieces. All right? So just give me a stretch right up here. Let's go. Up. Nice and easy. And down. If you don't have any music, just work to your own vibes. Ready? Let's go. Up. Need the music. Hands down. All right? We're going to hands up in the air now. Up.
Up.
Hold it right here to the shoulders. Walk. Keep walking right here. Nice and easy. Hands up, let's go. Up. Hands down to the shoulder. Down. Nice and easy. We're gonna go faster, all right?
Okay.
Let's go. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Nice and easy. Up, down.
I think
up,
I'm off
down,
beat.
Up, down, up, go. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Nice and easy. Up, down, up, down. We're gonna go forward now. Let's go. Out. Hold it right here and in. Enjoy yourself. Out. We need the music. In. 2 more. Let's go. Out. Nice and easy. In. That's right. Let's go. Out. In. Speed it up. Let's go. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. 2 more. Go. 1, 2, 3. That's right. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna squeeze it
My
right
hands are
here. Go
killing me.
in. Nice and slow. Out. We're warming up, guys. In.
This is a warm-up. Wow.
That's in. Nice. Out. In. Speed it up. Let's go. In. Out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Walk it off right here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you have a desk, if you're at school, you can use the desk. Or if you're at home, you can use the back of the chair or a table. And we're gonna go with the right leg. Let's go. 1, 2,
Can't see your legs. Her legs are moving.
4,
I think this is the
5,
wrong leg though.
6,
This is the left leg, don't
7. Next leg. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna bend the knees. Next leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Doing good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Next leg. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right here. Walk on the spot. We're going side to side. Side to side. That's right. Side to side. Hands out. 1, 2. Yes. 3, 4. Just work to your own vibes. All right. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. We're gonna pull those hands to the back. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pull them down. Let's go. 1, 2,
5 minutes isn't over yet.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going forward. Left, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Let's go. 1.
I hope you're doing this at home as you're watching us.
4, 5. We're gonna add some arms. I want you to tell me which dance is this. Go. 1, 2, 3,
Dances.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This is from
I want you
Ravens.
to rock side to side. This is now rock. 1, 2, 3. Hands on your waist. Nice and easy. Remember, you don't need a gym to do your thing. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can willy bounce. Willy bounce. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna shoot those arms up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doing good. 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Both hands and push. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Walk it off right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So before we
That
finish,
was my 60 minutes for the day.
so all right, so before we finish, I'm gonna show you how you can run without going to the park or going on the treadmill or wherever, right? So
Okay.
we go left leg forward, right leg behind. Just give me a bounce like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoulders go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're just gonna bring the right leg forward. Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. 5, 6, 7. Next side. 1, 2, 3. You ready?
I'm okay.
And 5, 4. Give me some attitude now. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Work, guys. 5, 6, 7. Nice and easy. Walk it off right here. Give me a stretch.
Oh my
Arms
gosh.
up. Nice and easy. Inhale. Exhale down. Sit. We're not sitting on the chair now, guys. We're taking it all up. Nice and easy. Pull it down, alright? Stretching so we don't have any muscle pain, alright?
I'm so happy
right
I'm
here
slim.
to the side right here, and reach. Next side. Right here, center. Nice and easy. Remember, guys, also to stay hydrated, release. Going all the way down. Stretch, nice and easy.
I can't see my
Give yourselves
heels.
a round of applause. Nice.
Woo! Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Mr. Archer. I feel I just did my 60 minutes times 5 in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Woo! So that was Mr. Downdre Archer from Health Promotion Assistant within the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And he just gave us 5 minutes on steroids, I would say, in our Jamaica Moves workout session. Thank you so much, Mr. Archer. And while we get our breath back, we now move on to another presentation from Mr. Don Dobson. He's the Director of Communication and Public Education within the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, and he'll be presenting on cybersecurity, keeping youth safe online. And he'll be joining us online. Mr. Don Dobson.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Christina. So let me share my screen. Just give me... Oh, my screen will need to be shared, so you have to enable it because I'm getting a message.
That out from Mr. Dobson. You may be asking, why is it so important for us to have this session on cybersecurity? Well, simply because due to COVID-19 and subsequent school closures, we have had to incorporate more blended learning or full online learning to replace face-to-face learning. And so we have more of our young people being exposed to, I would say, the internet. And while the internet is a very good resource, there are also challenges that may be had if we do not know how to effectively maneuver the platform. And so while we're endorsing and encouraging students to utilize the platforms as a part of their learning engagement, we also have to ensure that they are secured and protected as they go forward. I think Mr. Dobson is ready now. All right.
Yes, just checking that everyone is seeing my screen.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so apologies for the slight glitch. Good afternoon, students, parents, and teachers. I'm Don Dobson, and I'll be making a presentation on online safety. And my job here today is to provide a perspective on some of the opportunities and challenges in the digital age, particularly within the context of COVID-19 and the new normal. Now, I only have 15 minutes, so let's get this going. Oh, just to be sure, are you hearing the audio?
No, we're not hearing the audio.
Okay, all right, so let me go back to the settings.
Mr. Dobson, you'll also have to share audio. So while you're sharing the content, the video, you'll also have to ensure you share audio.
Yes, I forgot to activate that setting, so we should be all set.
We live in a digital environment where information is easily accessed and opportunities are limitless. An age to think big, to innovate and lead. But beware, the digital space has its challenges. Manage your digital self carefully, because the consequences are real.
At least 10 incoming freshmen had their recent acceptance withdrawn after posting extremely offensive images and statements on a private Facebook group.
Stop and think before you broadcast and post messages. Before downloading third-party apps. Because your digital footprint follows you wherever you go. The Broadcasting Commission, your partner for a new day.
So it's a time to think big, to innovate and lead. And why is this so? Because we're in the age of user empowerment, the age of user-generated content, because we have access to tools, the internet, social media, smart devices, that allow us to create and share content. They allow us to inform, to educate, and to entertain. And those are roles that you would usually associate with traditional media. Now, if we have all this power and we have all this ability, then obviously it's no surprise why we're spending so much time online. And when you add COVID-19 to the mix, what it does is to accelerate our transition to the online space. Yes, on the one hand, it has caused wide-scale disruption, and obviously would have preferred not to have to experience that. But it also has provided a unique opportunity for us to migrate online, for us to do more of our banking online, to do more of our shopping, and also to go to school online, which some of you are doing now as part of the blended experience. Now, if that's all that we had to worry about, we would be good. Regrettably, we have the bullies migrating to the online space. We have the pedophiles migrating to the online space. We have the human traffickers migrating to the online space. So we have to be on the lookout and we have to be on top of our game. But I don't want you to see this as all doom and gloom. So what I want to focus on firstly would be one of the major opportunities emerging during this COVID-19 pandemic. And it's the fact that information flow has been democratized. So it's no longer one way. You don't have to sit around and wait for Miss or Sir to come and pour knowledge in your head, right? You have the tools to go out there and get the information. And trust me, there's a lot of information out there to help you learn, to help you grow, to help you develop. Recently, I came across some information that Oxford University Press is actually providing temporary free access to digital versions of CSEC and CAPE textbooks. Some of you may be aware of this, and I hope you're taking advantage of it. If you're just learning about it in this moment, please make use of the resources as quickly as you can, because the free access ends on September 30th, 2020. Reading the Gleaner the other day, and I came across it speaking about STEMbuildersJM.com, and this is a learning platform dedicated to science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's something that you may want to consider. I'm not endorsing the platform, but it's something that you may want to explore and see if it's right for you, or right for your children, or right for your classroom. I know there's Khan Academy. I know several schools are already using this learning resource. And so teachers, you may want to consider if this is appropriate for your classroom. Parents, you may want to consider if this is appropriate for your children. And students, you can take the initiative and examine these platforms to see if they're right for you. Further afield, we see where the top universities in the world are actually working with some of the edutech companies to make online courses available free of cost. And MIT is one such university. And to give you an example of the courses that they offer, we can use this one, Becoming an Entrepreneur. Many of you students have dreams, have ambitions of one day becoming your own boss, being a businessman, a businesswoman. And so a course like this may be the perfect introduction to entrepreneurship, because it may give you insight on some of the mindset and some of the tools which are essential to be a successful entrepreneur. And there are others like Coursera. But as I said before, if it was just the students and the parents and teachers and law-abiding citizens that were operating online, we'd be just fine. But as we see in this example, we have a lot of cyberbullying, and the effects of cyberbullying can be actually fatal. Years ago, I shared this example with some of my colleagues, and the sentiment coming out of that discussion was, boy, we're really glad, we're really happy this is not happening in Jamaica. Cyberbullying is not an issue for us. That's no longer the case. A study done in 2018 by UTech revealed that some 40% of high school students in Jamaica say they have experienced cyberbullying. And so parents, you have to be on the lookout, and students, you also have to be on the lookout. Look out for the signs of cyberbullying. And I want you to pay particular attention to behavior change around the devices, as you see listed here, because behavior gives away so much. And children may not always be comfortable talking to people about these experiences. And so you may have to dig deep. You may have to look for these signs. And as I said before, focus on behavior change. Know what to do if you're on the receiving end of bullying. Don't reply to the bullies. They're trying to get a reaction from you. They get satisfaction from knowing that they have said something that affects you. Keep the evidence. This is no longer a case of he said, she said. You actually have that text message, you have the WhatsApp message, you have the post that was made online, or the comment that was made, or the photo or the video that was shared. You can then block the bully, right? That's one option, and you monitor the situation. Or you can escalate it and report the bully to the platform, or you can bring it to the attention of a trusted adult or the relevant authorities. Online grooming. The pedophiles and the sex predators, they are also active online. We see from this case in Wales, in the United Kingdom, where Owain Thomas, a 29-year-old law graduate, was actually jailed. He was sentenced, I think, to 15 years in prison for recording some 150 children performing different sex acts on camera that he told them to perform. And he used Facebook and online games such as Roblox and Minecraft to meet and groom the children. And he focused on those aged between 9 and 16 years old. So again, you have to be on top of your game. Closer to home, we see where a 13-year-old girl started receiving text messages from a strange number. The person on the other end was actually a 48-year-old man. He pretended to be someone else and would appear to have gained her trust. Then he started to threaten her. It eventually led to them meeting in person, where he coerced her into performing sex acts, and she complied out of fear. All right, so how does it start? They use fake profile pictures at times. Sometimes they pretend to have similar interests to the children. They pay attention to detail. So if they notice that you have self-esteem issues, they may give you a lot of flattery. If they notice that you are in need of something, they may offer gifts. And that is to gain your trust. And then once trust is established, then they steer the conversation towards sex. They may tell younger children not to keep it a secret from their parents. They may get to the point where they start asking for sex photographs and videos. They may suggest a meeting in person. And if that is rejected, they may proceed to use the pictures or the videos as blackmail. So be on the alert and be on the lookout. And the human traffickers, they are also adept at using social media to lure unsuspecting victims. And in this case, it was an 18-year-old girl who was in a poverty-stricken situation, and she saw an ad on social media for promotional dancers, thought she was coming to Kingston to, dance and promote some of the big brands, but instead was forced into a life of prostitution. With respect to human trafficking, what to do? Verify the identities of persons you communicate with online, especially in relation to job opportunities. Do not provide contact details and your location. Be wary of people who have the solutions to all your problems. And importantly, do not meet up with persons you meet online. You notice I did not say do not meet up with adults. Do not meet up with persons, including those in a similar age group as you, because criminals are getting younger and younger, and organized crime is using young people. And so you may very well meet up with somebody who is 14, 15, 16, or 17, but guess what? They can also harm you in the same way an adult would. So please do not meet up with anyone without the knowledge of your parents or a guardian. Overall, you need to take control, or as you see on screen, take control of your social media use. And that starts with ensuring that you have strong passwords for your accounts, and if possible, enable two-factor authentication. And this is a two-step process that gives you an added layer of security and protects your information. So the first step would be for you to input your username and password, but you wouldn't get access to your account. What you would get is a prompt to enter a code which would be sent to a phone that you would have identified, or would be generated by an authentication app that you have on your phone. So go into your settings, privacy and security settings, and enable two-factor authentication. Make sure you private your account, because this is your way of controlling who can be your friend or who can follow you. You have the power now to approve or reject any request to follow you, and thereby you have control over who can see your content and whether or not they can interact with your content. Periodically review your followers, and where necessary, delete people, unfriend them, block them, not because you approved them last year means that they should still be within your group. You can also control who comments on your content. We see in this example here, you could allow everyone. You could use people who follow you or your followers, people you follow, your followers only. So you have a number of options, and report. All these social media platforms, the gaming networks, they have a mechanism in place which allows you to report content that you find problematic, or users who you find problematic, or users who may concern you. There are also resources out there to help you. GetSafeOnline.org.jm is one such resource. This is a collaboration between GetSafe Online, which is based in the UK, and the Broadcasting Commission. So check out GetSafeOnline.org.jm. You also have Common Sense Media. That's another really good resource. It provides information for teachers, for students, for parents, and for advocates. And of course, in all that you do, especially online, always remember to ask yourself the question, what if?
Watch yourself online, that's what my crew say. Make it a new day. I'm reminded by the Broadcasting Commission. We the BCJ. What if it was your friend in the mix? What if it was your sis in the pics? What if you want a terrorist watch list? What if suppose that one? What you do? Don't like, don't comment, don't click, report it, block it, don't make it stick. Don't trust everybody on the internet. Use it to step up your intellect. So online you have to be safe too. Don't believe the rumors or the fake news. Don't go everywhere they try to take you. Protect the kids or they find a way to. What if it was your friend in the mix? What if it was your sis in the pics? What if you want a terrorist watch list? What if suppose that go on? What if wait up free?
Thank you very much. I know that was fast and furious, but hopefully you learned something, and we should have a few minutes for questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Don Dobson, and I loved that video a while ago, and I think the students online also appreciated it. But we do have a few questions. The first one is, how can parents block harmful sites?
Well, you can do it at two levels. You can actually block it from the browser. So you can go to Google, for instance, go into the parental control settings, and you can block, adult sites or sites with content that may be problematic for children. And such site could include pornography sites, sites with violent content, with mature language, and so on. But you have to go into the Google settings, and then you can set it as you see fit, because you can restrict the content based on the age of your child. So you don't want your child to access any content that is rated R or that is rated for persons 18 years and older. You can also block it from your server at home, your router rather. So you can exercise that control within your home. You can also activate parental control on the phones, the devices that you give your children. That one is a little tricky because your children want to know that you trust them, and they want a certain degree of independence. So that one is a little difficult to negotiate, especially when you're dealing with teenagers. So whether it's the actual device, whether it's Google, YouTube, even TikTok. TikTok actually has a parental control feature. So the device, the platform, or the router that you have at home, those are three options that you have to restrict access to mature content. And if you go to GetSafe Online, and if you go to Common Sense Media, they actually give you step-by-step instructions on how to activate parental controls and monitoring software on the devices. So they will have something specifically for TikTok. They'll have something specifically for Facebook, for iPhones, for Android phones. So that's why I went through pretty quickly at the end, but GetSafeOnline.org.jm and Common Sense Media, they'll give you step-by-step instructions. And the good thing about it is that when you visit these platforms and you make use of the resources, you can go at your own pace. So if you're very slow, if you're not tech savvy, no worries. And I think they also have videos, because some of us may not want to read all of, read all that information, and we may find it somewhat overwhelming. So they also have videos, and they also have graphics and checklists, brochures. So we have a wide variety of information available to assist with restricting access.
Okay, this is a two-part question. How can I limit my child's screen time, as well as to provide productive activities for them online?
Well, how can you limit screen time? Well, you can take the traditional approach and take the phone from them after they have used the phone for a certain amount of time. So you can say, okay, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock is time for using the device, because 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock would have been dedicated to homework and studying. Or you may want to say, okay, that time is for the news. So 8 to 9 or 8 to 10, depending on the age of the child, is your free time to have some fun. You can also activate screen time monitoring on the actual device, whether it's the tablet or the phone. And you can also do it for the platforms as well. So the important thing, is to immerse yourself in whatever you purchase for your children. So if it's a device, you need to know the device. And I'm going to continue to emphasize going to Get Safe Online and going to Common Sense Media. Because sometimes when we buy devices, we can't bother, right? To go read up all that information, to know how to do this and how to do that. We want an expert to come and tell us. But the truth is that the information is quite simple to understand. And in any presentation setting that you may find yourself, there will never be enough time for a step-by-step demonstration to be done. So utilize those platforms, because they give you the instructions on how to manage screen time and how to manage the kind of content that your children access. In terms of the productive activity, as I shared earlier in the presentation, there's so much to learn, and there are so many platforms that provide learning opportunities. So I would have shown you STEMbuilders.com, STEM Builders, which was recently launched. We had the Khan Academy, we had MIT, we had Coursera. So the information is out there. The issue is, are we making use of them? Because how many of us are going to now go to Coursera to see if some of the university courses that they have made available are relevant to us? How many of us will go to Khan Academy or will go to STEM Builders, right? So we have to make use of the resources that are available. And the good thing about it is that they actually have activities. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You go to Common Sense Media, for instance, as I mentioned, it has resources for teachers, parents, and advocates. So there are lesson plans on the different aspects of the digital age, whether that be how to use your device, digital citizenship, digital literacy, media literacy. It's like a child in a candy store. That's how I would describe the information and activities that they have in place to ensure that you can productively use the online space and to ensure that you can safely use the online space by being able to identify and respond to threats.
And as you talk about respond to threats, the final question is, how do you report cases of cyberbullying?
Well, you could report it to your parents. You could report it to your teachers or the guidance counselor. You could even report it to the police, because we have the Cybercrime Act, and it criminalizes the malicious use of computers, and computers covers all devices, phones, tablets, online communication, and so on. And in the past 2 years, we have seen 2 examples of men being jailed because they engaged in revenge porn. Relationships went sour, and then they decided to post images of their, ex-girlfriends online, and in some cases decided to threaten and blackmail. And these were reported to the authorities. Police investigated. The men were charged under the Cybercrimes Act, taken to court, prosecuted, and found guilty, and now are actually in jail serving time. So those are some of the options available to you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Don Dobson, Director of Communication and Public Education within the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, presented on cybersecurity, keeping youth safe online. Thank you so much, Mr. Dobson. And now we are coming to the end of our sensitization session. They say all good things must come to an end. But just before we do that, we invite Mr. Davy Horton, Policy Analyst within the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, and he will be bringing us some vote of thanks.
Thank you, Christina. Good afternoon, students, to our parents, to Jamaica, and all our partners and stakeholders who are tuning in right now to the school preparatory online virtual session. I just want to use the opportunity before even getting into the part of thanking our partners to basically first thank our students for tuning in. We want to thank you, and we want to encourage you to encourage your peers to get on the next virtual session, which will happen in a few weeks from now. All the sessions are very important because they have been focusing on all the different aspects of our educational system and how we are adopting and adapting to dealing with this crisis, dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So encouraging you to just get your peers on, because the information is really to equip you so you're able to basically get on with your lives get on with your lives and be able to be a lot more comfortable in how we now deliver and how you now receive education. The next thing, it's really a strategy of the ministry. So the session is not only about pouring out information, it's also about gathering your feedback so we're able from the ministry to better how we deliver on our education, to better how we serve you as the primary stakeholder in our educational space. So I want to encourage you, even after this session, if you have any queries, you can always contact the ministry. We have social media accounts on all the major platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those platforms. In closing, I just want to thank, and I'll start with our last presenter, Mr. Don Dobson from the Broadcasting Commission, and really sharing with us how we may better operate or navigate ourselves, not only as students, but even as adults in the virtual space, because as you've pointed out, all the criminal activities have migrated as well. So it's, though movements have been restricted and our activities have been migrated to online space, the criminal activities have migrated there. So we got to be careful and how best we can leverage our information communication technology to our maximum benefit. I want to thank as well our Acting Chief Education Officer, Dr. Cassandra Troop, and also the Senior Director in the Youth and Adolescent Policy Division for basically partnering and spearheading this session. We want to thank Ms. Ruth Lawrence, who is the technical coordinator on our side in arranging the sessions, the presenters from the Ministry of Health, Dondre, Mr. Keys, Fogo, who else am I missing? I don't think I'm missing anyone else who participated, but we also want to give big credits to the JIS technical team. Everybody, we want to really thank you for all the work you have done. We want to thank Christina for volunteering your time. Christina has been with us at the ministry since the National Secondary Student Council, and she has done an awesome job. You can see the product of the ministry right here, from NSSE to Jutes to UE Guild, and now she's basically giving back with her talents. Lastly, I want to thank also our members from our communications team here at the ministry, and I want to finally, I won't bore you any further, I want to finally use the opportunity to remind you and to mention that, hey, PMYA, Prime Minister National Youth Awards for Excellence, the application has been open. A matter of fact, the deadline is this Friday. We want to encourage our students to apply. It is eligible to young people 15 to 29 years of age, and it has 12 categories. So please do apply. It has academic. We have some really brilliant young students in our secondary school, in our tertiary space. Apply. The categories not only covers academia, but journalism, international achievement, sports, and we know we have a lot of multi-talented students out there. So I want to encourage you to apply. You can check that out on all our social media pages again, or at the youthjamaica.com website and its affiliate social media pages. Thank you again for tuning in, and just be safe out there, and again, encourage your peers to come on to the next virtual session. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Horton. And I have the final say. I have to big up at this time Antoinette in the building, who is our sign language interpreter. If you'd like to connect with her, please check her out on Instagram and Twitter at Tony Turf. I hope she's smiling. I don't know if she's smiling. Oh, good, she's smiling. Check her out if you want to engage with her or utilize any of her services. I am Christina Williams. It was my pleasure to host today, and I look forward to seeing you at our next staging within our Back to School Student Sensitization series here at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. What good.
I am Nathan Walker, a student of Canton College. I hear responsibility. I choose to be responsible for my education. I'm Jamaican, and I'm a solution. The answer's in the mirror. So be a good soldier. Mirror the responsibility. You have the ability.
An initiative of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information and Rondell Positive Movement International.